I never thought a wedding invitation could destroy my life, but when my ex invited me to his big day for laughs, he had no idea what he was about to face. 7 years ago, Mason Collier walked out on me without a word, leaving me pregnant and alone, and now he wanted me to watch him marry someone else like some kind of sick victory lap. So I showed up all right, walked straight into that country club reception with my head held high and my 5-year-old twins by my side. The look on his face when he realized those children were his, that was just the beginning. What happened next tore apart his perfect life, exposed his family's darkest secrets, and forced both of us to choose between pride and the love we thought we'd lost forever. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me in the comments if you've ever gotten revenge you didn't even plan for, because trust me, this story is about to take turns you won't see coming. Kendra's red pen hovered over a crayon drawing of a lopsided house, smoke curling from its chimney in wild spirals. She smiled despite the ache blooming behind her eyes. Third graders didn't care about perfect perspective, only pure feeling. The refrigerator hummed beside her, its surface buried under finger paintings and spelling tests marked with gold stars. Mummy, is purple a sad color or a happy color? Lily's voice pulled her back. At the far end of the table, both twins hunched over fresh paper, tongues poking out in concentration. Lucas had claimed every shade of blue in the crayon box. Lily hoarded the purples and pinks. Depends what you're drawing, baby. I'm making feelings, Lily announced, as if that explained everything. The mail slot clanged. Papers hit the hardwood with a muted thud. Kendra pushed back from the table, bare feet padding across the floor. Bills, grocery flyers, a postcard for gutter cleaning. Then her fingers touched thick cardstock, cream-colored and expensive. The envelope practically announced its own importance. She turned it over. Her name in formal calligraphy, Miss Kendra Hayes, and a return address in Raleigh that made her stomach drop. The twins' chatter faded to background noise as she slid her thumb under the sealed flap. The invitation emerged on heavy paper, embossed gold lettering catching the sunlight streaming through her kitchen window. Mr. and Mrs. Benjamin Collier request the honor of your presence at the marriage of their son, Mason Edward Collier, to Miss Vanessa Caroline Sterling. The words blurred. Mason, his name in elegant script, announcing his wedding like some fairy tale ending. The Oakmont Country Club, 2 weeks from today. She'd stopped breathing without realizing it. A smaller card slipped from between the pages, handwritten in the loose scrawl she'd once known by heart. Thought you'd enjoy seeing how well things turned out. M. The casual cruelty of it knocked the air from her lungs. Mommy? She looked up to find Lily watching her, purple crayon frozen mid-stroke. Why does your face look like that? Kendra forced her features into something resembling calm. The invitation crumpled slightly in her grip before she caught herself and smoothed it flat against her thigh. Like what, sweetheart? Sad and mad at the same time. Lucas glanced up now too, eyes identical to hers but carrying some echo of a face she'd tried to forget. Both of them studied her with that unnerving twin awareness, reading her like one of their picture books. Just boring grown-up male. She managed a smile that felt like shattered glass. Nothing for you to worry about. Lily didn't look convinced, but Lucas tugged her attention back to his ocean scene, all those blues, creating waves that threatened to spill off the page. Kendra walked to the counter on autopilot, setting the invitation down like it might detonate. Mason Collier was getting married to someone named Vanessa Sterling, which sounded exactly like the type of woman who'd fit into his world, the world he'd chosen over her. 7 years. 7 years since he'd looked at her with those promises in his eyes, since he'd mapped out their future in late-night conversations that tasted like hope. 7 years since she'd stood outside his apartment building, hand pressed to her still flat stomach, watching movers load his furniture into a truck. He'd changed his number, disappeared like smoke. And now this, an invitation delivered like a knife wrapped in expensive paper. Look how well things turned out. For him, maybe. While she'd given birth alone, learned to change 2 diapers simultaneously, survived on 3 hours of sleep and food bank groceries those first brutal months. Mommy, can we have mac and cheese for dinner? Sure, baby. She moved through the rest of the day underwater, made dinner, supervised bath time, read bedtime stories with voices for all the characters, tucked the twins in with kisses and promises that tomorrow they'd go to the park. Only when both bedroom doors clicked shut did she pour herself wine and carry it to the back porch with the invitation. Her neighborhood settled into evening quiet. Crickets starting their nightly chorus. Somewhere down the block, A dog barked twice and went silent. Mason's handwriting stared up at her in the porch light. She'd memorized that scrawl once, the way his M's always slanted left, how he dotted his I's with aggressive precision. Thought you'd enjoy seeing how well things turned out. What did he want? Closure? Absolution? To parade his perfect life in front of the woman he'd discarded? She crumpled the cardstock. The expensive paper resisted, then gave way with a satisfying crunch. But her fingers smoothed it out again almost immediately. Part of her wanted to burn it, pretend it never arrived, protect the careful peace she'd built from this intrusion. Another part angry, defiant, still bleeding from wounds she'd convinced herself had scarred over, wanted him to see, wanted him to know she'd survived, thrived, even, wanted him to see exactly what he'd walked away from. Kendra pulled out her phone, thumb hovering over Jade's contact. "You're not going to believe what I just got in the mail." Jade's apartment smelled like cinnamon candles and the basil plant threatening to take over her kitchen windowsill. Kendra sank deeper into the worn couch. Its fabric, a riot of colors Jade claimed was bohemian chic. Across the room, Lily made an elephant puppet dance while Lucas studied a giraffe with serious concentration. "He invited you to his wedding?" Jade snatched the cream cardstock from Kendra's hands, reading it again as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less offensive. "This man has audacity I didn't know was possible." Ruth sat in the armchair, lips pressed into a thin line. She'd arrived 10 minutes after Kendra called, still wearing her church clothes. "Read the note," Kendra said quietly. Jade flipped to the handwritten card. Her jaw tightened. "Thought you'd enjoy seeing how well things turned out." "Oh, I know he didn't." "Language," Ruth cut in, nodding toward the twins. "I wasn't going to." Jade stopped herself, pacing across the hardwood. 7 years. 7 years of silence, and this is how he reaches out, to rub your face in his perfect life, which is exactly why Kendra needs to throw that invitation in the trash and forget it. Ruth folded her hands in her lap, the gesture so familiar Kendra could have drawn it from memory. "He wants to hurt you, baby. Don't give him the satisfaction." Or, Jade spun around, eyes bright with the expression Kendra recognized as dangerous. "Or you go." "Absolutely not," Ruth said. "Hear me out." Jade dropped onto the couch beside Kendra. "You walk in there looking amazing, head high, unbothered. You let him see exactly what he walked away from." Kendra shook her head. "I can't." "You can. You're thriving, Ken. Look at what you built. 2 incredible kids, a job you love, a home that's full of more love than his country club wedding will ever have." Jade grabbed her hand. "You don't need his validation. But maybe you need to prove to yourself that he can't hurt you anymore." "He can't hurt me if I don't show up." "Can't he?" Jade's voice softened. "You've been holding that invitation for 24 hours, and you haven't thrown it away." The words landed like stones. Kendra looked down at her lap. "It's beneath your dignity," Ruth insisted. "You don't owe him anything, not your time, not your presence, certainly not the satisfaction of seeing you show up like some..." "Like some what, Mama?" The edge in Kendra's voice surprised all three of them. Ruth's expression flickered. "That's not what I meant." "I know what you meant." Kendra stood, crossing to the window. Outside, Sunday afternoon traffic crawled past. Normal people living normal lives, unbothered by ghosts in expensive envelopes. "You think it makes me look desperate? I think it makes you vulnerable." "I'll go with you," Jade offered. "We get dressed up, stay for one drink, and leave. You don't even have to speak to him. Just let him see you standing tall and know that you survived without him." Across the room, Lily's laugh rang out as Lucas made the giraffe kiss the elephant. Pure joy, untouched by adult complications. Kendra watched them, something settling in her chest. "If I go," she said slowly, "I'm bringing the twins." Silence. "Kendra," Ruth began. "He wanted to see how well things turned out?" Kendra turned from the window. "Then he can see all of it. Everything he missed. Everything he chose to walk away from." Jade's grin spread slowly. "Now we're talking." "This is a mistake," Ruth said, but her voice had lost its conviction. Maybe it was. But Kendra was tired of hiding, tired of letting Mason Collier exist as some untouchable wound she couldn't examine. She'd survived his leaving. She'd built a life worth living. Perhaps it was time he knew it. 2 weeks dissolved in a blur of preparation and second-guessing. Jade dragged her to 3 different stores before Kendra found the dress deep emerald, simple cut, elegant without trying too hard. Ruth hemmed it without comment, though her tight stitches spoke volumes. The twins got new outfits from Target, Lily delighted by her dress with tulle underneath, Lucas tolerating the button-up shirt for approximately 10 minutes before yanking it off. The night before the wedding, Kendra stood alone in her bedroom, the emerald dress catching lamplight. She'd practiced her expression in the mirror, cool, unbothered, the polite smile of someone greeting a distant acquaintance. Mason, congratulations. Beautiful ceremony. Then she imagined his face when he saw Lily and Lucas, and her practiced composure cracked. The shoebox waited in the back of her closet, buried under winter sweaters. She pulled it out now, fingers tracing its worn edges. Inside, photos from another lifetime, ticket stubs from concerts, a dried rose from their first Valentine's Day. Evidence of a love that once felt inevitable. She lifted a photo, both of them laughing at a summer festival, his arm around her shoulders, her head tipped back in genuine joy. They looked so young, so certain. Who were you really? She whispered to his frozen smile. Tomorrow, maybe she'd find out. She closed the box, tucked it away, and turned off the light. Saturday afternoon sun glinted off the hood of Kendra's sedan as they merged onto I-85 North. Her knuckles had gone pale against the steering wheel. You're going to break it off if you keep holding on like that. Jade adjusted the visor, examining her lipstick in the mirror. Kendra forced her fingers to loosen. In the rear view, Lily's yellow sundress stood out like a dandelion against the grey upholstery. Lucas tugged at his collar, already uncomfortable in the button-up shirt Ruth had ironed twice. Where are we going, Mommy? Lily kicked her feet, light-up sneakers flashing. To a party. Kendra kept her voice steady. Someone Mommy used to know is getting married. Will there be cake? Lily's priorities were clear. Probably. I don't like parties, Lucas said quietly. We won't stay long, baby. I promise. The GPS announced their exit. Kendra's stomach lurched as manicured hedges appeared along the roadside, then iron gates bearing a gold-scripted sign, Oakmont Country Club. The driveway curved through grounds so pristine they looked painted. Mercedes and BMWs lined the parking area like a German car commercial. We don't belong here. The words slipped out before Kendra could stop them. Jade turned, dark eyes fierce. Yes, you do. You belong anywhere you choose to be. Kendra pulled into a spot between a Lexus and a Porsche. Her 12-year-old Honda looked like it had wandered in from another dimension. The reception venue soared 3 stories, all glass and white columns. Inside, a ballroom sprawled beneath crystal chandeliers the size of compact cars. Flower arrangements taller than Lucas erupted from every surface, white roses and orchids that probably cost more than Kendra's monthly rent. Guests in designer clothes clustered in elegant groups, champagne flutes catching the light. Lily gasped. It's like a castle. A server in black and white appeared with a tray. Jade smoothly accepted 2 glasses of sparkling cider, handing one to Kendra. Just breathe. But Kendra couldn't breathe, because across the room, surrounded by men in matching tuxedos, stood Mason Collier. 7 years had refined him. The boyish softness she remembered had sharpened into clean lines and confidence. His tuxedo fit like it was born on him. He threw his head back, laughing at something a groomsman said, completely at ease in this world of crystal and privilege. He looked happy, whole, like he'd never lost anything at all. The sight hit her chest like a physical blow. This was what he'd chosen, this glossy, perfect life, and she'd been so easy to discard in pursuit of it. Lucas pressed against her leg. Mummy, you're shaking. I'm okay, sweetheart. She set down the cider before she dropped it. Then Mason's gaze swept the room, casual, proprietary, a groom surveying his kingdom. His eyes landed on her. The smile died on his face. Color drained from his skin so fast he went grey. His champagne glass tilted, forgotten in his hand. For 3 endless seconds, they stared at each other across 60 feet of polished marble. He'd really never expected her to come. The invitation hadn't been an olive branch, or even a genuine taunt, just casual cruelty, tossed off and forgotten. Kendra! Jade's voice seemed far away. Mason said something to his groomsman, already moving. He cut through the crowd, eyes locked on her, expression shifting through shock into something more complicated. Panic, maybe, or the beginning of understanding. Kendra's heart slammed against her ribs. 7 years of imagined conversations evaporated. She couldn't remember a single practiced line. You've got this, Jade whispered. But before Mason crossed half the distance, a vision in white silk intercepted him. Vanessa Sterling materialized like she'd been conjured, all sharp elegance and possession. She linked her arm through Mason's, fingers wrapping tight around his bicep. Her smile was architectural, perfect and cold. "Mason, darling." Her voice carried just enough to reach Kendra. "Who is this?" Those pale eyes traveled over Kendra's dress, the one she'd agonized over at Marshall's, the best she could afford. Then down to Lily and Lucas, who'd gone still and watchful the way children do when adults radiate tension. Back to Mason's face, which had gone carefully blank. "I," Mason's voice cracked. He cleared his throat. Vanessa's gaze sharpened. She looked at the twins again, and Kendra watched the math happen behind those calculating eyes. 5 years old, the right age. The boy had Mason's nose. "Well?" Vanessa's smile never wavered, but her knuckles whitened against Mason's sleeve. "Aren't you going to introduce us?" Vanessa's smile could have cut glass. "Well? Aren't you going to introduce us?" "Mason?" Mason's throat worked. The color hadn't returned to his face. "Vanessa, this is Kendra Hayes, an old friend." The word landed between them like a stone dropped in still water. Kendra's jaw locked. Friend. 7 years condensed into that one bloodless word. Vanessa's gaze traveled from Kendra's face to the twins and back, her eyes sharp as a blade. "How charming. And your children, how old are they?" The question wasn't casual. Nothing about Vanessa's tone was casual. Kendra lifted her chin. 5. They just finished kindergarten. The math was simple. Vanessa's mouth thinned. Mason moved between them, his hand raised like he could physically stop what was already in motion. "Vanessa, we should talk. Privately. Your father wants photos." Vanessa's voice dropped to a whisper meant only for Mason. 5 minutes. Fix whatever this is." She swept away, her train hissing across the marble floor. Mason turned. His composure crumbled like wet sand. "I didn't think you'd actually come. That invitation, God. I was drunk and angry and stupid. I never meant angry about what exactly." Jade stepped forward, her voice sharp. "You're the one who left." Mason flinched. His eyes dropped to the twins, really looking at them for the first time. Lily beamed up at him, fearless. Lucas pressed closer to Kendra's leg. The recognition moved across Mason's face in stages. First confusion, then focus, then something that looked like being punched in the stomach. The slope of Lily's nose, the shape of Lucas's eyes, exactly like his own but darker. The way they both tilted their heads when curious, the gesture achingly familiar. "How old did you say they were?" His voice barely made it past his lips. Kendra's eyes flashed. "You heard me. 5. Do the math." "Mason." He did. His hand found the back of a nearby chair, knuckles white. Guests were beginning to notice. An older couple glanced over, curious. A groomsman started toward them, then thought better of it. Jade touched Kendra's elbow. "Let's take this outside." The terrace stretched along the back of the building, overlooking manicured golf greens that rolled toward a line of trees. Late afternoon sun painted everything gold and amber. Lily tugged on Kendra's dress. "Can we go play on the grass?" "I'll take them." Jade's voice was gentle now. She shepherded both children toward a visible patch of lawn near the terrace railing, close enough to watch but far enough to give space. Mason stared after them. His breathing had gone shallow. Kendra watched him watch her children, their children, and felt something crack open in her chest. Rage, yes, but underneath, something more dangerous. The memory of how he'd looked at her 7 years ago, like she'd hung the moon. "Are they?" He couldn't finish. "Yes." The word came out hard. "They're yours, Lily and Lucas. Your children that you never met because you disappeared without a word." Mason's hand found the terrace railing. He gripped it like it was the only thing keeping him upright. "I didn't know." "You never told me." Kendra's laugh scraped her throat raw. "I tried. I called 50 times. I showed up at your apartment. You moved, Mason. You ran. His voice broke. "Kendra, you what? You forgot? You were too busy? You decided a baby wasn't part of your perfect plan?" Each word hit harder. "I was 22 and pregnant and alone because you couldn't even give me the courtesy of a conversation." On the lawn, Lily spun in circles while Lucas examined a flower. Jade watched them, watched the terrace, her body language protective. Mason's face had gone gray. "I know. God, I know how it looked." "How it looked?" Kendra stepped closer, her voice dropping to something dangerous. "How it was." You left me. The wedding celebration continued inside, muted laughter and clinking glasses, a world away from the wreckage between them. Mason slumped against the terrace railing, hands covering his face. The setting sun cast long shadows across the stone, turning everything golden except the mess between them. Kendra stood rigid, arms crossed like armor. On the grass beyond, Jade's voice rose in exaggerated play, making Lily giggle. Lucas's quieter laugh followed. Mason dropped his hands. His eyes were red. I need to explain. You deserve to know what happened. 7 years too late. Kendra's voice could have frozen the evening air. But go ahead. He pushed off the railing, pacing. When you told me you were pregnant, I was terrified. But I was ready. I wanted God. Kendra, I wanted to be with you. I told my father, expecting. I don't know. Support, advice. And? He had you investigated. The words came out flat, bitter. Within 48 hours, he knew everything about your family, your mother's business debts, the financial struggles. Kendra's breath caught. He threatened to destroy her. Mason's voice cracked. Call in debts, tank her credit, use his connections to make sure she'd never work again. He said you were trying to trap me, that if I stayed, he'd ruin Ruth's life until you had nothing. The terrace tilted. Kendra gripped the back of a nearby chair. I was 25 and completely under his control. Every dollar I had, every opportunity, it all came through him. Mason's face twisted. I convinced myself I was protecting you, that you'd be better off without me dragging you into his world. So I changed my number, moved, cut everything. You convinced yourself. Kendra's voice shook. I was a coward. He met her eyes. I chose the easy way and called it noble. The silence stretched. Inside, someone laughed. Crystal clinked against crystal. Kendra stared at him, processing. Her mother. Ben Collier had threatened her mother, and she'd never known. So you let your father threaten my mother, she said slowly, and instead of telling me, instead of fighting, you just disappeared. Mason nodded, tears spilling. You made the decision for both of us. You didn't even give me a choice. I know. His voice broke. I destroyed everything, but I'm not that person anymore. I've spent 7 years knowing I made the worst mistake of my life. Kendra looked past him to where Lily was showing Lucas a flower she'd found. You didn't just leave me, Mason. You left them. He followed her gaze. They ask about their father sometimes. I tell them he couldn't be with us. Her voice fractured. What I don't tell them is that he had a choice, that he chose to walk away. Mason, Vanessa's voice carried from inside, sharp with irritation. Photos are starting. He looked torn, one hand reaching toward Kendra. She made the decision for him. Go, get married, live your perfect life. She turned toward the grass. We don't need you. We never did. Kendra, please. She didn't turn back. Kendra walked quickly across the parking lot, Jade beside her, each holding a twin's hand. Gravel crunched under their feet. The lights were so pretty, Mommy. Lily bounced with each step. Like stars inside. Lucas stayed quiet, his small hand tight around Kendra's fingers. She fumbled for her car keys. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking adrenaline, fury, 7 years of suppressed emotion trying to break free all at once. Behind them, rapid footsteps. Kendra, wait, please. She stopped, didn't turn around. Jade gave her a questioning look. Kendra nodded once. Come on, sweethearts. Jade steered the twins toward the sedan. Let's find those snacks we packed. Mason circled around to face her. His tux jacket was gone, tie loosened and hanging crooked. The polished veneer had shattered completely. This was raw desperation. I know I don't deserve anything from you. His voice cracked. I know I can't undo what I did. But those children, our children, I didn't know about them. If I had known, would it have changed anything? Kendra's words were sharp as breaking glass. Would you have stood up to your father? Or would you have found another reason to run? Mason opened his mouth, closed it. That's what I thought. She moved toward the car, but Mason stepped sideways, blocking her path. I want to know them. I want to be their father. I'll do whatever it takes. Counseling, legal agreements, whatever you need to feel safe. Just please don't shut me out completely. Kendra whirled on him, and the anger finally broke through. Safe? You think I feel safe letting you near them? You're getting married, Mason. Today, right now. Your bride is inside waiting for photos. She pointed back at the country club. What's your plan? Collect your secret children, like accessories. I'm not going through with it. The words hung in the evening air. The wedding. Mason dragged a hand through his hair. I can't not after this. Vanessa and I, we're not. This isn't real. It never was. Kendra stared at him, searching his face for manipulation, for performance. She saw only exhaustion and something that looked like truth. That's not my problem, Mason. She pulled a pen from her purse, grabbed a crumpled receipt. You don't get to blow up your life and then use my children as your redemption arc. She scribbled her number, the pen tearing slightly through the thin paper. If, and this is a massive if, I decide to let you meet them, it will be on my terms, at MY pace, with MY rules. She shoved the receipt at his chest. You don't contact them directly. You don't show up at our home. You don't make promises you can't keep. Mason walked back toward the country club entrance, stuffing the receipt into his pocket. His mind wouldn't stop, couldn't stop. 2 children, twins, 5 years old. 5 years of birthdays, first words, scraped knees, bedtime stories. 5 years he'd missed because he'd been too weak to stand up to his father. The weight of it crushed the air from his lungs. He slipped through a side door to avoid the main reception. Vanessa materialized in the hallway like she'd been lying in wait. Where have you been? Her voice carried that particular pitch that meant public humiliation was imminent. Your father is furious. The photographer has been waiting for 45 minutes, and our guests are starting to ask questions. She stopped, really looked at him. Mason, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. We need to talk. Privately. Something in his tone made her follow without argument. They moved to a small library off the main hall, leather chairs, expensive whiskey no one drank, walls lined with books chosen by a decorator. He told her, haltingly. About Kendra, the pregnancy he'd never known about, the twins he'd seen for the first time an hour ago. Vanessa's face cycled through shock, anger, calculation. When she spoke, her voice was measured. So you have illegitimate children with some woman from your past. They're not illegitimate. They're fine. We'll handle it discreetly. Set up a trust fund, arrange quiet visits. It doesn't have to affect us. The words landed wrong. Everything about them. Vanessa, those are my children. I can't just... This isn't a PR problem to manage. Her eyes narrowed. Then what exactly are you saying? I'm saying I can't marry you. The words came easier than they should have. Not like this. Not when I don't even know who I am anymore. She stood perfectly still. No tears, no theatrics. Just cold assessment. You're making a mistake. She removed her engagement ring 3 carats, princess cut, chosen from a catalogue, and set it on the table between them with careful precision. That woman clearly wants something from you. Money, probably. And she's using those children to manipulate you. Her voice cracked on the last word, but not from heartbreak. Wounded pride. In 6 months, you'll realize this, and you'll regret throwing away everything we built. I'm sorry. He meant it. You deserve someone who's all in. She left without another word. Mason pulled up to his father's estate just after 10. The colonial mansion loomed against the dark sky, every window lit like it was daring him to turn back. He'd grown up here, in rooms that smelled like furniture, polish, and disapproval. It had never been a home, just a museum dedicated to the Collier name. He sat in his car, still wearing his dress shirt and suit pants from the wedding that didn't happen. His tie was somewhere back at the country club. Maybe in that library where he'd watched Vanessa remove her ring with the careful precision of someone discarding a broken appliance. 32 years he'd lived under his father's thumb. 32 years of, yes, sir, and swallowed objections and choosing the path of least resistance. Tonight, that ended. He walked to the front door and let himself in. Ben Collier sat in his study exactly where Mason expected, leather wingback chair, crystal tumbler of scotch, reading glasses perched on his nose as he reviewed some contract. He didn't look up. I assume the wedding didn't happen. Not a question. A statement of fact delivered in that tone that made everything sound like a business transaction gone wrong. Mason closed the study door behind him. Kendra came, with the twins. Ben set down his papers, took a slow sip of scotch. So she finally decided to make her move. Took her long enough. She didn't know I'd invited her, and she never asked me for anything. Of course she didn't. Ben's smile was thin, humorless. That's how the smart ones operate. They wait until you're vulnerable, then they strike. Show up at your wedding with children conveniently aged to match your brief liaison. They're 5 years old. They're mine. So she claims. Mason's hands curled into fists. I saw them. They have my eyes, My DNA tests exist for a reason. Ben stood, moving to the bar to refill his glass. But that's irrelevant. The real question is what you're going to do now. I assume you want my advice on managing this situation. I don't want your advice. I want the truth about what you did 7 years ago. Ben didn't even have the decency to look uncomfortable. I protected you from a mistake that would have destroyed your future. That woman was after your money. She didn't know about the money. She was a college student working 2 jobs, and I made sure she understood that pursuing you would have consequences for her family. Ben said it like he was describing a successful negotiation. Her mother had debts, vulnerabilities. I simply explained the reality of the situation. Mason's anger finally broke through years of careful control. You threatened to destroy Ruth Hayes financially if I didn't leave Kendra. I gave you an opportunity to make the right choice. You blackmailed me into abandoning the woman I loved while she was pregnant with my children. Ben's expression didn't change. You were 25 years old and thinking with the wrong organ. I did what fathers do. I protected you from your own stupidity. If you'd stayed with that woman, you'd be trapped in some mediocre middle-class existence instead of running a successful company and marrying into a respectable family. The casual cruelty of it stole Mason's breath. His father genuinely believed he'd done the right thing, that love and family were obstacles to be managed, not treasures to protect. I'm done. Done with what? Living by your rules, prioritizing image over integrity, being controlled. Mason's voice was steady now, clear. I'm done being your puppet. Ben's eyes narrowed. You're upset. Understandable. When you've calmed down and thought this through rationally, I have thought it through. For 7 years I've thought about nothing else. Every day I wake up knowing I made the worst decision of my life because I was too weak to stand up to you. Weakness would have been throwing away your future for some girl. Her name is Kendra. And those children, Lily and Lucas, they're not some problem to be managed. They're my son and daughter. Ben set down his glass with careful precision. If you pursue this, there will be consequences. I know. I'm not talking about social embarrassment. I'm talking about your position in the company, your trust fund, your place in this family. Ben's voice went cold. You publicly acknowledge these children, you tie yourself to that woman, and you're cut off. Completely. No more executive salary, no more quarterly distributions, no more using the Collier name to open doors. Mason had known this was coming. Still, hearing it out loud made his stomach drop. You'll be on your own, Ben continued. And when she takes you for everything you're worth, when reality hits and you realize you've traded everything for nothing, don't come crawling back. Mason stood. His legs felt steadier than he'd expected. Then I'm on my own. I've been living your life for 32 years. It's time I started living mine. He walked toward the door. You'll regret this. Mason paused, hand on the brass doorknob. Even if you're right, I'd rather risk that than spend another day being your puppet. He closed the door on his father and his old life. Monday morning, Kendra stood in her art room, arranging paintbrushes by color when her hands started shaking. She set the brushes down and gripped the edge of the supply table, breathing slowly through her nose. 2 days. It had been 2 days since Mason Collier walked back into her life and detonated everything she'd carefully built. The classroom was her sanctuary, cheerful alphabet letters on the walls, student artwork clipped to string across the windows, the faint smell of tempera paint and possibility. She'd come in early to ground herself in routine, but her mind wouldn't cooperate. Instead, it kept replaying the parking lot confrontation, Mason's face when he saw the twins, his claim about his father's threats, the text she'd read 50 times without answering. So, are we going to talk about the elephant that followed you home from Raleigh, or are you just going to keep aggressively organizing paintbrushes? Jade leaned in the doorway, arms crossed, wearing her favorite Art is Life t-shirt. Kendra didn't turn around. I'm fine. You're alphabetizing by shade. That's not fine. That's a breakdown disguised as productivity. Despite everything, Kendra's mouth twitched. She abandoned the brushes and sank into her desk chair. I don't know what to do. Lunch? My room? We're talking this through. Jade's classroom was more chaotic than Kendra's posters about kindness everywhere. A reading corner with mismatched pillows, student projects in various states of completion. They sat on the floor with salads, neither of them ate. Tell me everything, Jade said. So Kendra did. The confrontation on the terrace, Ben Collier's threats about her mother's debts, Mason's confession that he'd convinced himself abandonment was protection. The wedding he'd walked away from, the text claiming he'd cut ties with his father. When she finished, Jade was quiet for a long moment. "Do you believe him?" she finally asked. Kendra wrapped her arms around her knees. "I don't know. The Mason I knew would never have stood up to his father. But people can change, or they just get better at lying." "What does your gut say?" "My gut says I'm terrified." Kendra's voice cracked. "Because if I let him in and he leaves again, it won't just be me this time. It'll be Lily asking why Daddy doesn't love her. Lucas wondering what he did wrong." Jade reached over and squeezed her hand. "You know what's different now? Everything? You have all the cards. He wants access to those babies. That means you control the terms. You don't have to trust him or forgive him. But maybe you let him prove himself on your conditions, your timeline." Kendra's phone buzzed. Another text from Mason. "I don't want to pressure you, but I'd really like the chance to meet Lily and Lucas properly. Whatever boundaries you need, I'll respect them." She showed Jade the screen. "See?" he's asking. "Not demanding. That's something. Or it's manipulation. Could be both." Jade shrugged. "Only way to know is to test him." That evening, after Lily and Lucas were asleep after stories about dragons and princesses, after tucking them in with their favorite stuffed animals, Kendra sat with her mother at the kitchen table. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. She showed Ruth the texts. Her mother's face hardened. "That man and his father caused us enough grief. Now he wants back in because it's convenient for him? Maybe." Kendra traced the rim of her tea mug. "But Mama, Lucas asked me about his daddy again yesterday." Ruth's expression softened slightly. "He wanted to know if their daddy didn't want them. I told him that wasn't true, but..." Kendra's throat tightened. "What if it doesn't have to be a lie anymore?" "Baby," Ruth covered Kendra's hand with her own. "I just don't want you hurt again. Or those children." "I know." Kendra blinked back tears. "But Jade's right. I have all the power here. He wants something from me. Maybe it's time I use that." She picked up her phone, staring at Mason's unanswered messages. 7 years ago, she'd been powerless, young, pregnant, abandoned. Now she was a mother with a career, a home, a life she'd built without him. He was the one asking. She typed slowly. "If you're serious, we can arrange one meeting. Supervised. At a public park. This Saturday at 10 a.m. I'll text you the address. Don't make me regret this." Her finger hovered over send. "You sure about this?" Ruth asked quietly. Kendra thought of Lucas's question, of Lily's fascination with families in her storybooks, of the weight she'd carried alone for 5 years. She hit send. Saturday morning arrived with cloudless sky, and Kendra's resolve already cracking. She'd dressed the twins carefully, Lily in her favorite butterfly shirt, Lucas in stripes, then changed her own outfit 3 times before settling on jeans and a simple blouse. Nothing that looked like she was trying too hard. Freedom Park sprawled green and welcoming when they arrived at 9:45. Early. She was never early. "Why are we at the park, Mommy?" Lily skipped toward the playground. "Is Auntie Jade coming?" "She's already here." Kendra spotted Jade on a bench near the swings, phone out, but eyes sharp. "And we're meeting someone." "Who?" The question lodged in Kendra's throat. She'd practiced this conversation all week, tested different phrasings with her bathroom mirror, but now the words scattered. "You'll see, baby. Go play for a minute." The twins raced off. Kendra joined Jade on the bench, checking her watch. 9:58. "You look like you're about to throw up." Jade didn't glance up from her phone. "Helpful. I'm just saying, if you need an exit strategy..." "I don't." Kendra's hands twisted together. "I think..." At precisely 10 o'clock, a silver sedan pulled into the lot. Mason emerged, looking nothing like the polished groom from last weekend. Faded jeans, plain grey t-shirt, hair less carefully styled. He carried a canvas bag and walked toward them like a man approaching a firing squad. Good, Kendra thought. He should be nervous. He stopped several feet away. Hi, she stood, putting herself between him and the playground. "You're punctual. Didn't want to give you a reason to leave." His smile flickered, uncertain. "I, brought some things. I wasn't sure what's appropriate for 5-year-olds, but I thought..." He opened the bag, pulling out 3 picture books. "Books are always safe?" Kendra examined them. One about different family structures, another about feelings, a third about a lost bear finding its way home. Thoughtful choices. Suspiciously thoughtful. "Did you Google what to bring when meeting your kids for the first time?" His ears reddened. Yes, several articles, and I called a child psychologist's office and asked hypothetically what. Stop, she almost laughed despite herself. That's actually okay. Better than showing up with expensive toys trying to buy their affection. The article said that would backfire. This time she did laugh, small and sharp. Mason's shoulders dropped slightly, tension easing. Kendra turned toward the playground. Lily, Lucas, come here for a minute. They came running, Lily first as always, Lucas trailing cautiously. They stopped when they saw Mason, Lily's head tilting with open curiosity. Kendra's heart hammered. No preparation had been enough for this moment. Lily, Lucas, this is Mason. She forced the next words past the tightness in her chest. He's your father. The silence stretched. A dog barked somewhere. Children shrieked on the distant swings. Lily stepped closer, studying Mason's face. You're our daddy? Mason crouched to their eye level, movements careful. Yes, I am, his voice caught. And I'm very sorry it took me so long to meet you. Lucas pressed against Kendra's leg, one hand gripping her jeans, watching, assessing with those serious eyes that saw too much. Where were you? Lily asked. The question punched through Kendra's defenses. She'd wondered the same thing 1,000 times, screamed it into her pillow during those first impossible months. Mason didn't look away from Lily's face. I made some very bad choices and wasn't there when I should have been. That's my fault. Not yours or your mummy's. Only mine. Did you not want us? Lucas's voice was barely audible. No. Mason's eyes went bright with unshed tears. No, Lucas, I didn't know about you. But if I had, He stopped, seeming to choose his words carefully. Nothing in the world would have kept me away. Nothing. Kendra's throat burned. She didn't know if she believed him, but watching him fight to hold himself together in front of their children, she understood he believed it. Lily grabbed his hand suddenly. Want to see how high I can swing? Mason looked up at Kendra, question clear in his eyes. She nodded once. Curt. An hour passed in strange suspension, Mason pushing them on swings, spotting their climbing with nervous hands, reading about the lost bear under an oak tree with one twin on each side. Lucas warmed gradually, especially when Mason answered his questions about cars and buildings without talking down to him. When Kendra finally called time, Lily threw her arms around Mason's waist. The following Saturday arrived with Mason already waiting when Kendra pulled into the parking lot at 9:50. He stood beside his car holding a small soccer ball and a bag of sidewalk chalk, shifting his weight like a nervous kid on a first date. Lily spotted him first. Dad's here. The word hit Kendra square in the chest. When had that happened? When had Mason become dad in her daughter's vocabulary? Lucas scrambled out of the car more eagerly than last week, already talking. Can we play soccer? I've been practicing with Grandma. Mason's whole face transformed. Absolutely. I'm probably rusty, but we'll figure it out together. They claimed a patch of open grass. Mason kept the game gentle, celebrating every kick like a World Cup goal. When Lucas actually managed to get the ball past him, Mason collapsed dramatically. I've been defeated by a soccer master. Lucas giggled, an actual, unguarded giggle that made Kendra's throat tight. After soccer came sidewalk chalk on the wide path near the playground. Lily created elaborate rainbows that twisted and swirled. Lucas designed a spaceship with careful detail, explaining each component. Mason contributed what could generously be called a stick figure family, 2 tall figures, 2 small ones, all holding hands. That's terrible, Lily announced with 5-year-old honesty. Mason laughed. You're absolutely right. Art is not my strength. It's okay, Lucas said seriously. Mummy can teach you. She's the best art teacher. Mason glanced toward where Kendra sat on the bench, close enough to intervene, but far enough to give them space. I bet she is. The second Saturday, Mason arrived with a carefully curated bag of art supplies, washable paints, brushes, thick paper. Kendra mentioned you both love art class, he explained, setting everything up on a picnic table. Thought we could make something together. They painted in comfortable near silence, the kind that doesn't need filling. Lucas worked on his spaceship design again. Lily created what she called a family rainbow. Then Lucas looked up, brush dripping blue paint. Why weren't you there before? Kendra tensed, ready to redirect. But Mason met the question head on. He set down his own brush. I was scared and made a really bad choice. I left when I should have stayed. That's my fault, not yours or your mum's. I'm trying to do better now. Lucas considered this with the pragmatism unique to 5-year-olds. Okay, but don't do it again. I won't, Mason promised. I'm here now, and I'm staying. What struck Kendra most was what Mason didn't say. He didn't blame her, didn't make excuses, didn't paint himself as victim, just clean accountability that even a kindergartner could understand. Week 3 brought the ice cream shop, Kendra's presence still mandatory, but the outing itself felt almost normal. They sat at a corner table, the twins demolishing chocolate cones, while Mason attempted to keep napkins ahead of the mess. An elderly woman stopped beside their table, smiling. What beautiful children you have. They have both your eyes. Neither Kendra nor Mason corrected the assumption. The woman moved on. The silence that followed vibrated with something unnamed. Kendra focused very hard on Lily's dripping cone. Later, as they walked back to the parking lot, Lucas grabbed Mason's hand unprompted. You're getting better at being a dad. Mason stopped walking. His eyes went bright and wet. Thank you, buddy. That means everything. The 4th Saturday, Mason brought an old photo album. He showed them pictures of himself at their age gap, toothed, skinny, covered in dirt. You look like Lucas, Lily announced. And you have Mommy's smile, Lucas added. We all do. The observation landed with unexpected weight. Kendra did smile more lately. When had that happened? The twins tested Dad more confidently now, no longer tentative. Each time they used it, Mason looked like he'd been handed the world. After that 4th visit, as the twins collected their chalk drawings, Mason approached Kendra at her bench. I wanted to ask something. He kept his voice low. Would you consider letting me take them somewhere without you? The children's museum, maybe? Or the zoo? With your mom or Jade along if that's more comfortable. Kendra's instinct screamed no, but she looked at the twins carefully folding their artwork, at Lucas explaining his spaceship design to Mason with animated gestures, at Lily already planning what to paint next week. I'll think about it. That evening, she sat at Ruth's kitchen table while the twins watched cartoons in the living room. He's asking for unsupervised time, Kendra said. Ruth's mouth tightened. And he's been showing up every week, exactly when he says. He's good with them, patient, doesn't push. Jade leaned against the counter, coffee mug in hand. If you never let him prove himself fully, you'll always wonder if he'd have stayed or run. At some point, you test the foundation, or you're just waiting for it to crack. Kendra pulled out her phone before she could overthink it. You can take them to the Museum of Life and Science next Saturday. My mom will meet you there and stay the whole time. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Don't be late, and don't make promises you can't keep. His response came within seconds. I won't let you down. Kendra stared at the message, hope and terror warring in her chest. She'd find out soon enough. Saturday morning at the Museum of Life and Science in Durham brought Mason 20 minutes early, parked and pacing near the entrance with a backpack that looked military-grade in its preparedness, emergency contacts laminated, first aid kit. The snacks Kendra had pre-packed arranged in labeled containers. He'd checked the weather 3 times and brought sunscreen and a light jacket just in case. Ruth's sedan pulled up at 9:58. She emerged wearing her church face, the one that had intimidated Kendra's poorly chosen boyfriends and PTA critics for decades. Mason straightened, shoulders back, meeting her approach like a man facing judgment. Mrs. Hayes, thank you for doing this. 4 hours. Ruth's arms crossed over her chest. You have my number and Kendra's. Any problems, any at all, you call immediately. Yes, ma'am. I won't let you down. She studied him with eyes that had raised a daughter alone and spotted every lie ever told in her presence. See that you don't. The twins tumbled out of Mason's car, saving him from further interrogation. Grandma! Lily launched herself at Ruth's legs. Dad says there's real butterflies inside. Ruth's eyebrows rose slightly at the casual, Dad, but she bent to kiss both children. You two mind your manners and listen when he tells you something. Lucas nodded seriously, already tugging Mason's hand toward the entrance. Inside, the museum unfolded like a wonderland, designed specifically to destroy Mason's carefully maintained composure. Within 10 minutes, his jacket was tied around his waist, the first aid kit forgotten in the backpack, and he'd been conscripted as chief marble maze architect under Lucas's exacting supervision. No, Dad, the tunnel goes there. Physics. Mason adjusted the plastic tube with academic solemnity. You're absolutely right. Physics. Ruth trailed 15 feet behind, arms still crossed, watching. The butterfly conservatory hit different. humid air thick with living color, wings everywhere like scattered prayers. Lily stood motionless in the center, barely breathing, until a monarch settled on her outstretched finger. "Dad, look, she picked me." Mason crouched beside her, voice soft. "She's got good taste." He pulled out his phone, checking with Ruth first, and took 17 photos, Lily glowing in each one. An hour disappeared, then another. Mason followed where the twins led dinosaur fossils, wind tunnels, the farmyard where Lucas solemnly fed goats and declared them good listeners. He didn't rush or redirect, just moved with them through their wonder like he'd been doing it forever. At the museum cafe, Lucas attacked chicken nuggets while explaining tornado formation. "And Dad, that's why houses go whoosh. Can we come here again?" Mason glanced toward Ruth, who'd joined them at the table. "Anytime your mum says it's okay." Something passed between Ruth and her grandson, some understanding forged in honesty. She saw it clearly. This man loved these children, with the fierce desperation of someone making up for lost time. When Lily needed the bathroom, and Lucas scraped his knee on the playground, Mason handled both without fanfare. Wet paper towels and cartoon bandages, patience and gentle humor. Ruth watched him coax Lucas through tears, and her jaw unclenched slightly. The afternoon wound down toward 2 o'clock. Mason and Ruth sat on a bench overlooking the outdoor playground, where the twins had found some kind of pulley system that delighted their engineering souls. Ruth broke the silence like breaking bread. "You hurt my daughter badly." Mason didn't flinch. "I know. She built a good life for those children. I won't let you tear that down." "I don't want to tear anything down, Mrs. Hayes. I just want to be the father they deserve." Ruth studied his profile, the exhaustion around his eyes, the sunscreen smudge on his collar, the way he tracked both children with automatic vigilance. "My daughter kept a secret from you too." Mason turned. 7 years ago, when your father's people came sniffing around my business with their threats, I never told Kendra." Ruth's voice carried old shame. "I told her to move on from you without explaining why. She could have fought for you if she'd known the real reason you left. But I was scared, and I made the choice for her." The air left Mason's lungs. "You knew about my father's threats?" "Not until after you were gone. But I let her believe you just didn't want her." Ruth stood, brushing invisible dust from her slacks. "Maybe I was wrong about that." She walked toward the twins without looking back. Mason sat alone with revelation settling like sediment. Two people who'd failed Kendra through fear, now trying to do better. Later, after depositing sleepy, sunburned twins back home, he asked Kendra for a moment on the porch. "Your mother told me something today," he explained. Watched Kendra's face cycle through shock, anger, understanding. "We all have regrets," he said quietly, "but I don't want to keep making the same mistakes. I want to do better." Kendra looked at him really, looked past the history to the man standing present and trying. "Me too." 2 weeks after the museum visit, Mason stood on Kendra's porch, holding flowers and second-guessing everything. The modest white container of daisies felt insufficient. The educational board game tucked under his arm seemed presumptuous. But the text from Kendra had been clear. Ruth's cooking dinner, 6 p.m. Don't be late. First dinner invitation. First time crossing the threshold as something other than a stranger begging for scraps of access. Lucas opened the door before Mason could knock, eyes bright. "Dad, Mommy said you're eating with us. If that's okay with you." "I set your plate, the blue one. It matches mine." The house smelled like home-roasted chicken, something sweet baking, the faint trace of Kendra's lavender soap. Ruth emerged from the kitchen, eyebrow raised at the bouquet. "Those better not be carnations. I don't trust a man who brings carnations." "Daisies, ma'am. And these are for Kendra." He produced a second, smaller bunch of sunflowers. Ruth's mouth twitched toward something almost resembling approval. "Well, come in before you let the heat out." The living room was small but radiant, with the twins' artwork, construction paper creations taped to every available surface, crayon drawings magnetized to a second-hand filing cabinet repurposed as storage. Kendra appeared from the hallway wearing jeans and a soft gray sweater, hair pulled back, looking more beautiful than she had any right to. "You came," she sounded surprised. "You invited me." "I know, but—" She trailed off, accepting the sunflowers with hands that trembled slightly. "Thank you. These are my favorite." I remembered. Something passed between them. Acknowledgement of the past, of what he'd once known about her and had tried to preserve through years of self-imposed exile. Lily crashed into his legs. "We made napkin swans. Auntie Jade taught us on FaceTime. Dinner was chaos in the best possible way. Ruth's chicken was perfect, her greens seasoned with enough vinegar to make his eyes water. The twins talked over each other, competing for his attention with stories about school and playground politics. Lucas explained the complex social dynamics of the block center with anthropological seriousness. Lily demonstrated her interpretation of the lunch lady's laugh, complete with theatrical gestures. Mason helped clear plates without being asked, scraping leftovers into Tupperware while Ruth washed and Kendra dried. The rhythm felt practiced, despite its newness. "You don't have to do that," Kendra said. "I want to." Ruth handed him a sudsy plate. "Boys got manners, at least. Your father teach you that. Or you learn it despite him. My grandmother," she said, "men who don't clean their own messes end up being messes." "Smart woman." Ruth's tone carried less frost than usual. The board game descended into cheerful bedlam, a cooperative memory-matching game that Lucas approached with strategic intensity, while Lily guessed, based on aesthetic preference. When Lucas climbed into Mason's lap mid-game without hesitation, the weight of him small and trusting, and something cracked open in Mason's chest. Bedtime came with negotiations. "Dad has to read the story," Lily declared, already in her unicorn pajamas. Kendra started to object, then stopped. "If he wants to." Mason followed the twins to their shared room, 2 twin beds, one wall painted lavender, the other blue, a compromise visible in every design choice. Lily's side overflowed with stuffed animals and art supplies. Lucas's featured precisely arranged dinosaurs and a growing rock collection labeled with masking tape. They chose a book about a bear who couldn't sleep. Mason read with voices, made them giggle, tucked blankets with care he didn't know he possessed. Lucas's goodnight hug was quick. Lily's lasted longer. "I'm glad you're our dad," she whispered against his shoulder. He couldn't speak, just kissed her forehead and turned off the light before she could see him crying. Ruth left an hour later with a meaningful look at Kendra. "Don't stay up too late. Some of us have church in the morning." Then they were alone. The porch was small, just enough room for 2 chairs, and the fading hydrangeas Kendra watered religiously. Crickets performed their evening symphony. Somewhere down the block, kids played a final game before parents called them in. "They're doing really well," Mason said. "In school, I mean. You've raised remarkable humans. We're raising them. You've been showing up. For 5 weeks. You've been showing up for 5 years." Kendra studied the street, arms wrapped around herself despite the warmth. "Lucas asked me yesterday if you were staying. Not visiting. Staying." Mason's breath caught. "What did you tell him?" "That I didn't know. That grown-up relationships are complicated." She finally looked at him. "What would you have said?" "That I'm not going anywhere. That he's stuck with me." "Can you promise that?" "Yes." The certainty in his voice surprised them both. Kendra's laugh was soft, almost sad. "I think about it sometimes, what we could have been, before everything broke. Every single day." Mason reached for her hand, half expecting her to pull away. She didn't. Her fingers were cold despite the evening heat. "I know I destroyed what we had. I know there's no undo button. But Kendra, I've fallen completely in love with our children. And the words stuck, terrifying in their honesty. "I never stopped loving you. Not in 7 years. That's not a line. It's just the truth I've been too afraid to say." Her breath hitched. Tears caught streetlight, made her eyes luminous. "Mason, we can't just..." But she didn't let go of his hand. They sat in silence that felt less empty than full, heavy with possibility and fear, and the terrible, beautiful question of whether broken things could be rebuilt into something stronger. Eventually he stood, reluctant. At his car, he turned back. "I'm not asking you to forgive me or trust me with your heart again. Just don't rule it out completely." Kendra didn't answer, but her expression carried something softer than the anger he'd grown accustomed to. After his taillights disappeared, she stayed on the porch, hand still warm from his touch, wondering if she was brave enough to risk everything a second time. Saturday afternoon, sun beat down on Pinecrest Park's worn playground equipment. Mason pushed Lily higher on the swings, her delighted shrieks piercing the lazy heat. Lucas climbed the jungle gym with methodical focus, testing each foothold. Across town, Jade cornered Kendra in a coffee shop booth, iced latte forgotten between them. "When are you going to admit you still have feelings for him?" Kendra traced patterns in the condensation on her cup. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please, I've seen how you look at him when he's reading to the twins, and how he looks at you when you're not paying attention like you're water and he's been crossing a desert. That doesn't mean anything. He's just what? Just showing up every week? Just calling when he says he will? Just learning their favorite foods and reading their emotional cues better than men who've known kids for years? Jade leaned forward. Those kids need a father, yes, but that's not the only thing happening here. Kendra's throat tightened. What if he leaves again? What if Ben finds another way to control him? What if I'm just convenient because he wants access to… Stop. You're terrified, I get it. But you're also falling for him again, and pretending otherwise is just lying to yourself. At the playground, Lucas appeared at Mason's elbow. Dad. Mason caught the swing, slowing Lily's momentum. Yeah, buddy? Do you love Mommy? The question hit like a fist. Mason crouched to eye level, buying time. Lily had stopped pumping her legs, watching with frank curiosity. Tell the truth. They deserve that much. I do, Mason said carefully. I always have. But your mom doesn't trust me yet, and that's my fault, because I hurt her before you were born. So I'm trying to earn that trust back. Lucas absorbed this with unsettling seriousness. I think you should tell her. I don't know if she wants to hear. She's been sad for a long time. Lucas picked at the bark chips underfoot. Not sad around us, but I can tell. Sometimes at night I hear her crying in her room when she thinks we're asleep. Mason's chest constricted. His son, observant, careful Lucas, had been carrying this knowledge. Kendra had survived their abandonment, built a beautiful life, given their children everything, but thriving? Maybe not. When he returned them that evening, both twins tackled Kendra's legs in greeting. Mason hung back, heart hammering against his ribs. Can we talk? The words came out rougher than intended. After bedtime, Kendra's expression shifted, guarded, curious. Okay. 20 minutes later, they stood on her porch. Moths battered the light fixture overhead. Inside, Ruth pretended to read while absolutely eavesdropping. Mason had rehearsed this in his car. Every version sounded inadequate. I'm not just showing up for the twins, the words tumbled out. I mean, I am. They're everything to me. But I'm also showing up hoping for a second chance with you. Kendra's breath caught. I'm not trying to manipulate you or use the kids as leverage. I'm telling you honestly, I want us to be a family. All four of us. He shoved his hands in his pockets to stop them shaking. But I know I have to earn that. So I'm asking, not demanding, asking if you'd be willing to consider letting me try. Not right now, not fast, but eventually. The silence stretched. A car passed on the street behind them. I don't know if I can trust you with my heart again. Kendra's voice wavered. The first time almost destroyed me. I understand. I'm not asking for an answer now. I'm just asking you not to close the door completely. They were standing too close. Mason could see gold flecks in her brown eyes, the slight part of her lips. The porch light cast them in amber, softening the hard edges of 7 years. He didn't know who moved first. The kiss was tentative, weighted with everything lost and everything possible. Kendra's hand found his shirt collar. Mason cupped her face, like she might vanish. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. Kendra touched her lips, looking stunned. I need time. Take all the time you need. Mason stepped back before he could pull her close again. I'm not going anywhere. He walked to his car on unsteady legs. In the doorway, Kendra leaned against the frame, watching until his taillights disappeared. Inside, Ruth glanced up from her book with studied casualness. Everything okay? Kendra pressed fingers to her still tingling mouth. I don't know. That night, she lay awake replaying the kiss, terrified and exhilarated, wondering if wanting something this badly meant it would inevitably be taken away. 3 weeks changed everything. Mason arrived at Kendra's house carrying flowers and a bottle of Ruth's favorite wine, the kind of small gestures that had become second nature. Through the window, he spotted the twins setting the table with exaggerated care, Lily arranging napkins, while Lucas positioned glasses with architectural precision. Ruth opened the door before he could knock. You're early. Traffic was better than I expected. She studied him with that hawk-like assessment he'd learned meant she was measuring his sincerity. Finally, she stepped aside. Come help me with the roast. In the kitchen, Ruth moved with efficient grace while Mason followed instructions. Stir this, season that. Don't you dare burn my garlic bread. Kendra appeared in leggings and an oversized sweater, hair pulled back, looking more beautiful than anyone in formal wear at his almost wedding. Mom's already put you to work? I'm earning my keep, Mason said, grinning. Jade swept in with wine and theatrical suspicion. I'm watching you, Collier. One wrong move. Jade. Kendra's voice carried warmth and warning. I'm just saying, we've got standards now. Dinner unfolded like something from a life Mason hadn't known he wanted. The small table barely contained them all, elbows bumped, plates passed hand to hand. Conversation layered over laughter. Ruth told stories about 5-year-old Kendra's attempts to improve the neighbor's gardens with finger paint. Mason shared his disastrous first attempt at cooking pasta in his new apartment. He'd forgotten to add water. How do you forget water? Lucas asked, genuinely baffled. I was concentrating very hard on reading the instructions. Maybe you should stick to sandwiches, Dad. The casual way, Lucas said. Dad still hit Mason in the chest every time. Ruth raised her wine glass, and the table quieted. To family, the one you're born with and the one you choose. Her eyes met Mason's. And to second chances, when they're earned. Mason's throat tightened. Thank you for letting me earn it. After dinner, Lucas abandoned his chair and climbed into Mason's lap like he'd been doing it his whole life. Can I see your apartment sometime? Does it have a balcony? No balcony, but there's a park across the street with a basketball court. Can we go next weekend? If your mum says it's okay. Lily leaned against Kendra's shoulder. I want to see it too. Kendra's smile was soft. We'll figure something out. Jade announced backyard glow in the dark tag with the authority of someone who'd come prepared. She produced glow sticks from her enormous purse while Ruth herded the twins outside. You two clean up. We've got this. Alone in the kitchen, Mason and Kendra moved around each other. With easy rhythm he washed, she dried, their hips bumping occasionally in the small space. Thank you, Mason said quietly. For this. For them. For letting me be part of your life again. Kendra set down a plate, turned to face him. I didn't think I could feel this way again. Hopeful. Me either. You and those kids. She paused, finding words. You're everything I thought I'd lost. Mason cupped her face, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. I love you. I know it's soon to say again, but I do. I love all three of you so much it scares me. I'm scared too. But she kissed him anyway, deeper than before, more certain. Through the window, the twins shrieked with laughter, chasing Jade's glowing form across the small yard, while Ruth watched with folded arms and a grandmother's satisfaction. It felt like wholeness, like healing, like everything might actually work. That night, Kendra tucked the twins into their shared room, kissing foreheads and adjusting blankets. Is Dad going to live here now? Lily's voice was drowsy, hopeful. Kendra chose her words carefully. Not yet, honey, but maybe someday. Lucas rolled over, eyes already closing. I hope someday is soon. After they slept, Kendra lay in her own bed, smiling at her phone. Mason's text glowed in the darkness. Tonight was perfect. Thank you for giving us a chance. I love you. Her fingers hesitated only briefly before typing back. I think I'm falling in love with you again, too. She fell asleep content, unguarded for the first time in 7 years. Sunday morning, 7 a.m. Her phone rang with an unknown number. Miss Hayes. A formal male voice, too crisp for the early hour. This is Jeffrey Morrison, attorney representing Benjamin Collier. I'm calling to inform you that my client has filed a petition for grandparents' rights regarding the minor children Lily and Lucas Hayes. Kendra sat up, heart hammering. What? You should expect formal paperwork within 48 hours. Mr. Collier is seeking court-ordered visitation and custody evaluation based on concerns about the children's current living situation. You'll want to secure legal representation. Custody concerns, what are you talking about? The petition details are in the filing. Good day, Miss Hayes. The line went dead. Her email pinged. She opened it with shaking hands, legal letterhead, dense paragraphs of formal language, and there, listed as co-petitioner, alongside Benjamin Collier, Mason Andrew Collier. The phone slipped from her fingers. He'd played her, got close, gained her trust, made her fall in love again, and now he was taking her children. Every wall she'd lowered came roaring back, reinforced with fresh betrayal. She'd been right to be afraid. Sunday morning exploded into fragments. Kendra stared at her phone screen, the attorney's words echoing in a loop. She couldn't stop. Grandparents' rights, custody arrangements, current living situation. The formal email sat in her inbox like a grenade, each line of legal text detonating something fundamental inside her. Mason Collier, co-petitioner. His name, right there in black font against white background, destroying everything she'd been stupid enough to rebuild. Her bedroom walls pressed inward. Through the door, silence, the twins still slept, unaware their world was being dismantled by lawyers and men who thought money equaled worth. She scrolled to Mason's text from 9 hours ago. "Tonight was perfect. Thank you for giving us a chance. I love you." The laugh that escaped carried no humor, just jagged edges that caught in her throat. Her finger hovered over Jade's contact. One call. That's all she had in her before the composure she'd weaponized for 7 years shattered completely. Jade answered on the second ring, voice thick with sleep. "Ken? What? I need you here. Now." Kendra's voice sounded distant, someone else's. "And I need the name of a family lawyer." "What happened?" "Just come." She ended the call and stood, legs uncertain. In the bathroom mirror, she barely recognized the woman, staring back, eyes too wide, skin ashen. The careful walls she'd built showing stress fractures that spread with each breath. Her phone buzzed. Mason's name lit the screen with a good morning text, complete with a photo of coffee and the question, "Brunch? Today?" The twins mentioned pancakes. The casual warmth of it, the easy assumption of welcome, made something inside her calcify into pure rage. 43 minutes later, Jade burst through the door without knocking. Kendra sat at the kitchen table, the printed petition spread before her like evidence at a crime scene. Jade scanned the documents, her face shifting from confusion to fury. "I'll kill him. I swear to God." I was starting to believe. So was I. Kendra's voice carried no inflection. "That's the problem." Ruth arrived next, summoned by Jade's frantic call. She read the petition in silence, her jaw working in that way that meant she was restraining every "I told you so" fighting for release. "We need representation," Ruth said finally, flipping to the signature page. Her finger stopped on Mason's name, and something murderous crossed her features. "Today." Jade already had her phone out. "My friend Michaela's sister does family law. I'm calling now." Mason's apartment felt like a cage. He stood in the center of the small living room, the affordable space he'd rented after walking away from his father's world, and tried to make sense of Kendra's words. "Your father's petition, with your name on it." His hands shook as he pulled up his email, fingers clumsy against the screen. He searched, "Benjamin Collier, attorney, petition." Nothing, not a single message. No forwarded documents, no requests for signature, no heads up from his father's legal team. He called Ben's cell. Voicemail. The house line. 4 rings, then the housekeeper's polite deflection. The office. Ben's assistant claimed he was unavailable. "Get him on the phone. Now." Mason's voice cracked. "Tell him it's about Lily and Lucas." "I'm sorry, Mr. Collier, but..." He hung up and grabbed his keys. The drive to North Raleigh passed in a blur of rage, and speed limits he ignored. Oak trees blurred past his windows. His mind replayed Kendra's voice, the devastation, the certainty of his betrayal. "You played me." He'd spent 2 months earning her trust. 2 months showing up, proving himself, becoming the father his children deserved. Last night she'd said she was falling in love with him again. This morning she'd called him a liar. The estate gate stood open. Mason parked crooked in the circular driveway and took the front steps 2 at a time. Ben sat in his study like he'd been waiting, scotch in hand, legal documents spread across his mahogany desk, reading glasses perched on his nose. He looked up without surprise. "I wondered when you'd figure it out." Mason stopped in the doorway, chest heaving. "What did you do? What needed to be done?" Ben removed his glasses with deliberate calm. "You were making a spectacle of yourself with that woman, parading around her neighborhood, playing house with illegitimate children. Someone had to take control of the situation." "I'm not on that petition." Mason's voice shook. "I never signed anything, never even saw." "Of course you didn't." Ben sipped his scotch. "I still have access to your signature from the partnership documents. Simple enough to apply it where necessary." The room tilted. "You forged my signature." "I expedited a process you were too emotional to handle properly." Ben stood, moving to the window overlooking the manicured grounds. "Those children are Colliers. They belong in this world, not some cramped rental with a woman who earns a teacher's salary. I'm offering them advantages she never could. They have everything they need. A mother who loves them, a stable home. A home I could destroy with one phone call about code violations." Ben turned, his expression flat. "Don't be naive, Mason. This petition forces the issue. When the court sees the disparity in resources, our estate versus her two-bedroom rental, our family legacy versus her single-parent struggle, you'll get primary custody. Then you can raise them correctly, away from her influence. Mason felt bile rise in his throat. They're not possessions. They're children. My children. And Kendra is their mother. She's raised them alone for 5 years, while I was too much of a coward to. While you were protecting yourself from a trap, Ben's voice hardened. That woman saw dollar signs the moment she got pregnant. Now she's using your guilt to... Stop. Mason's hands clenched into fists. You threatened her family 7 years ago. You forced me to abandon her, and now you're trying to steal her children by forging my name on legal documents. That's criminal. You understand that? Fraud. Ben's laugh held no warmth. Who's going to press charges? You? The son who'd destroy his own father over a woman who's already turned you into a stranger? I'm withdrawing from the petition. Mason's voice steadied, cold clarity replacing shock. I'm hiring my own attorney, and I'm going to testify that Kendra Hayes is an excellent mother who's provided a loving, stable home for Lily and Lucas. I'll tell the court exactly what you did, the threats, the forgery, all of it. You'd choose her over your family. She is my family. Those kids are my family. Mason moved toward the door. You're just the man who spent 32 years convincing me control was the same as love. Ben's face hardened into something ugly. You're weak. I always suspected it, but now you've proven it. Walking away from everything I built, everything you could have. For what? Sentiment? Poverty-level domesticity? No. Mason paused in the doorway, meeting his father's eyes with something like pity. For the first time, I'm strong enough to walk away from you. He left the study, the house, the estate. Left the life his father had scripted and the approval he'd spent decades chasing. In his car, he pulled out his phone and searched for family attorneys, someone not connected to his father's network, someone who could help him undo this damage. Kendra's number was blocked. He tried Ruth's straight to voicemail. Finally, he texted Jade. Please tell Kendra I didn't know. My father forged my signature. I'm withdrawing from the petition and will testify for her. I know she won't believe me, but it's the truth. I'm fixing this. The response came 10 minutes later. She says too little, too late. Leave her alone. Mason sat in the parking lot of a law office he'd found through an online search, staring at those words until they blurred. He'd finally found the courage to fight for what mattered. He just hoped it wasn't too late. Monday morning arrived with the weight of dread. Kendra sat in Sarah Chen's downtown office, hands folded too tightly in her lap, watching the attorney review documents with practiced efficiency. Sarah Chen was nothing like Kendra had imagined a lawyer would be. Mid-40s, warm but direct, she'd greeted Kendra with firm eye contact and gotten straight to business. Now she looked up from the petition, her expression unreadable. This is primarily harassment. Kendra blinked. What? Designed to intimidate you. Grandparents' rights are extremely limited in North Carolina, especially when there's never been an established relationship with the children. Sarah set the papers down. Benjamin Collier has no legal standing here, but we still need to take it seriously and respond appropriately. The knot in Kendra's chest loosened slightly. So we can fight this? We can win this. Sarah pulled out a legal pad. But I need character witnesses, documentation of the twins' well-being, proof of stable housing and income, school records, medical records, statements from family and friends. Can you gather those? Yes, I can do that. Sarah named a retainer fee that made Kendra's stomach plummet. Even with a payment plan, even with her savings, let me worry about that, Sarah said, catching her expression. My priority is protecting your children. We'll figure out the finances. She leaned forward. Kendra, I've seen cases like this. Wealthy families using the court system to bully people who don't have their resources. It makes me furious. So let's focus on showing the judge what I already see, that those kids have everything they need right where they are. The next 3 days blurred together. Kendra requested records from the twins' school. The principal, Mrs. Morrison, didn't just provide documents. She wrote a glowing letter about Lily and Lucas's social development, academic progress, and obvious emotional security. Those children are thriving, she told Kendra. Any judge would see that. The pediatrician's office sent comprehensive health records showing consistent wellness visits, up-to-date vaccinations, and appropriate developmental milestones. Ruth typed a formal statement on her ancient desktop computer, reading portions aloud to Kendra. My daughter has sacrificed her own comfort repeatedly to ensure her children have stability, love, and opportunity. She is the strongest person I know. Jade contributed a letter that somehow balanced legal formality with fierce protectiveness. I have watched Kendra build a home filled with laughter, creativity, and unconditional love despite circumstances that would have broken most people. By Wednesday afternoon, Kendra had assembled a file an inch thick. That same Wednesday, Sarah called with an edge to her voice that Kendra couldn't read. I received filings from Mason Collier's attorney this morning. Kendra's heart stopped. And he's withdrawn from the petition, filed a motion to be removed as co-petitioner with a sworn affidavit claiming he never authorized his inclusion. Sarah paused. He's also submitted a supporting statement for you. The floor seemed to tilt. What does that mean? It means either this is very elaborate manipulation or he's telling the truth about not knowing. Papers rustled on Sarah's end. I'm sending you copies. Read them. Think about what you want to do with the information. Wednesday evening found Kendra alone at her kitchen table, the twins already asleep after a long day of sensing stress they couldn't name and acting out in response. She'd read Mason's affidavit 3 times now. Kendra Hayes is the most devoted, loving mother I've ever witnessed. She built a stable, joy-filled home for our children under circumstances that would have broken most people. My absence was my failure, not hers. My father's suggestion that she's unfit is not just false, it's an unconscionable attack on a woman whose only crime is protecting her children from the manipulation and control that has defined the Collier family for generations. I oppose this petition entirely and will spend the rest of my life supporting Kendra as the children's primary parent and decision-maker. Her vision blurred. If this was manipulation, it was the cruelest kind. If it was truth, Ruth appeared in the doorway, bathrobe wrapped tight. "Baby, you're still up?" Kendra slid the affidavit across the table wordlessly. Ruth read slowly, lips moving slightly. When she finished, she looked at her daughter with something Kendra had never seen before: uncertainty. "What if we're wrong about him?" Ruth's voice was barely a whisper. "Mama, what if he really didn't know?" Kendra pressed her palms against her eyes. "Then I've done to him what I accused him of doing to me." Assumed the worst without giving him a chance to explain. The possibility settled between them like a third presence. Monday morning, Charlotte Courthouse. The building loomed grey and imposing, all concrete and institutional authority. Kendra walked up the steps beside Sarah Chen, her navy dress borrowed from Jade, professional but not expensive, her hands gripping her purse strap like a lifeline. Ruth and Jade flanked them, silent sentries. At the door, Sarah touched Kendra's elbow. "They're trying to intimidate you. Don't let them." Inside, fluorescent lights hummed over linoleum floors. Kendra spotted Mason immediately slumped on a bench near courtroom 4C, suit rumpled, face haggard. When their eyes met across the hallway, he stood, took one step toward her. She turned away, not with the fury of days before, but with careful self-preservation. His shoulders fell. Then Ben Collier arrived, tailored suit, silver hair perfectly styled, flanked by 2 attorneys who looked like they billed by the breath. His gaze swept over Kendra with cold assessment, cataloguing her cheap dress and scuffed shoes, dismissing her. Her spine straightened. "Miss Hayes?" The bailiff held the courtroom door. "We're ready." The courtroom was smaller than she'd expected. Wood paneling, harsh lighting, the judge's bench elevated like a throne. Kendra sat at the defendant's table, defendant, when she'd done nothing wrong with Sarah beside her. Ruth and Jade settled in the gallery. Mason sat across the aisle with his attorney. Ben Collier commanded the petitioner's table with proprietary ease. Judge Morrison entered. Black robe, reading glasses, the weariness of someone who'd seen too many families destroy themselves over money and pride. In the matter of Collier versus Hayes, grandparents' rights petition. Counselors, proceed. Ben's lead attorney stood, smooth and practiced. "Your Honor, my client Benjamin Collier seeks appropriate involvement in the lives of his biological grandchildren, Lily and Lucas Hayes. Mr. Collier only recently learned of the children's existence and is concerned about their living circumstances." He presented financial documents, bar graphs, comparing Kendra's teacher salary to the Collier family wealth. Photos of Ben's estate versus her modest rental. Coded language about stability and resources and opportunities the mother cannot provide. Kendra's nails dug into her palms. Sarah rose, voice crisp. Your Honor, Miss Hayes has raised healthy, happy, academically successful children in a loving home. Benjamin Collier is a stranger to these children. She slid documentation across. School records showing above-average performance. Pediatric records confirming excellent health. Character statements from educators and family. The judge reviewed silently. Furthermore, Sarah continued, Mason Collier has withdrawn from this petition and filed a supporting affidavit for Miss Hayes. He never authorized his inclusion. Ben's attorney waved dismissively. Administrative error. Your Honor, Mason's attorney interrupted, standing abruptly. My client is prepared to testify under oath that he never authorized this petition. We have evidence suggesting Mr. Benjamin Collier forged his son's signature. The courtroom stilled. Judge Morrison looked up slowly. That's a serious allegation. We're also prepared to present testimony from Ruth Hayes regarding threats Mr. Collier made 7 years ago to coerce his son into abandoning Miss Hayes when she was pregnant. Ben's face darkened. His attorney leaned in, whispering urgently. The judge's expression hardened. Mr. Collier, did you forge your son's signature on these documents? There may have been, the attorney fumbled. Administrative confusion regarding authorization. Yes or no? Silence. Judge Morrison removed his glasses. I'm calling a 15-minute recess to review the evidence. When I return, I expect clear answers. The hallway stretched endless. Kendra leaned against the wall, breathing through her nose. Ruth brought her water. Jade muttered creative threats against Ben Collier. Mason stood apart, watching her with something like desperation. 15 minutes crawled past. Back in the courtroom, the judge's face was granite. I've reviewed the documentation. The petition for grandparents' rights is denied in its entirety. His voice cut through the room. There is no established relationship between Mr. Benjamin Collier and the minor children. The evidence demonstrates Miss Hayes is not only fit, but exemplary in her care. Kendra's vision blurred. Additionally, the unauthorized inclusion of Mason Collier on this petition is a matter I'm referring to appropriate authorities. Mr. Benjamin Collier, you are hereby restrained from contacting Miss Pasha, Hayes, or her children without her explicit written permission. Violation will result in contempt charges. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel cracked. Kendra doubled over, Sarah's hand on her back. Ruth pulled her up, fierce embrace, Jade's arms wrapping around both of them. Across the aisle, Ben Collier stood rigid, fury radiating from him as his attorneys hustled him out. Mason approached slowly, stopping several feet away. I know you still don't trust me. His voice was rough, exhausted. I know this doesn't fix what happened between us, but I meant every word in that affidavit. You're an amazing mother. I'm so sorry my father put you through this. Kendra looked at him. Really looked. Saw the sleepless nights, the anguish, the genuine remorse carved into his features. You fought for me, she whispered. Even when I wouldn't listen. Even when I shut you out. His eyes filled. Of course I did. I love you. I love our children. His voice cracked. I'll fight for you for the rest of my life, if you'll let me. She didn't answer. Couldn't yet, but she didn't turn away. The neighbor's front door swung open before Kendra reached the porch. Lily and Lucas burst out like fireworks. Mommy! They hit her at knee height, twin missiles of concern and 5-year-old energy. Kendra caught them, crouched down, pulled them close. Did you win? Lucas's voice was small against her shoulder. Ruth had explained it carefully, a grown-up meeting about keeping their family together. Nothing scary, nothing they needed to worry about. Everything's fine, baby. We're safe. Lily pulled back, studied her face with those 2 perceptive eyes. You look tired. I am tired. But it's good tired. Like after we finish a really big art project. That evening, Ruth made spaghetti the twins' favorite. Celebration food. Jade brought cupcakes with unnecessarily elaborate frosting. They ate crowded around Kendra's small table, the twins chattering about their day with the neighbor's dog, blessedly oblivious to courtrooms and petitions and the ugliness of adults. After bedtime stories and prolonged tucking-in rituals, after Ruth and Jade finally left with fierce hugs and promises to check in tomorrow, Kendra sat alone in her living room. The house felt too quiet. She pulled out Mason's affidavit, the pages already soft from repeated reading. Kendra Hayes is the most devoted, loving mother I've ever witnessed. Her phone sat beside her, no longer blocking his number but silent. She scrolled back through the week, dozens of texts she'd never read, voicemails she'd deleted without listening. Sunday, 3:47 p.m. Please, just let me explain. My father forged my signature. I'm fixing this. I swear to God I didn't know. Sunday, 9:23 p.m. I filed to withdraw from the petition. I'm supporting your case. Please believe me. Monday, 6:15 a.m. Whatever happens today, I'm on your side. I'm so sorry you're going through this. On and on. Frantic, desperate, consistent. She set the phone down, pressed her palms against her eyes. Tuesday morning, Jade cornered her in the school art room between classes. Have you talked to him? Kendra sorted paintbrushes with unnecessary focus. Not yet. Kendra, I know what you're going to say. Then let me say it anyway. Jade hopped up on the counter, refused to be ignored. He didn't just apologize. He torched his relationship with his father, testified in court, paid your legal fees. What? Sarah told me. Anonymous donation to cover most of your retainer. One guess who? Kendra's hands stilled. That's not manipulation, Jade continued quietly. That's someone putting everything on the line because he loves you. Maybe you're still too hurt to trust that, and that's okay. But at least acknowledge what he did. Wednesday evening, Ruth sat at Kendra's kitchen table nursing tea. I didn't trust him, she said without preamble. Still not sure I completely do. But what he did Monday, standing up in that courtroom, choosing you over his father's money, that means something. I accused him of betraying me when he was trying to help. You protected your babies. Can't fault you for that. Kendra traced the rim of her own mug. I don't know how to do this. How to trust again. You don't have to know yet, but maybe you talk to him. Figure out if there's something worth saving. Wednesday, 8:47 p.m. Kendra stared at her phone for 10 minutes before typing. Can we talk? Not about us, just, we need to figure out how to move forward for the twins. The response came in under a minute. Anytime, anywhere you're comfortable. Thank you for reaching out. She set a time Thursday evening, her house, twins present. Safe territory. Mason stood on her porch Thursday at exactly 6 o'clock, holding a small bag of the twins' favorite gummy bears. Peace offering or bribe, Kendra couldn't tell. Hi, his voice was careful. Hi. She let him in. The twins erupted from their block tower, swarmed him with a week's worth of pent-up affection. Dad, where were you? Mommy said you were busy, but we missed you. I missed you too. He crouched, gathered them close, eyes suspiciously bright. They settled in the living room, Kendra in the armchair, Mason on the couch, twins building elaborate structures on the rug between them, running over periodically to demand Mason admire their architectural genius. Kendra spoke first. Had to. I'm sorry. I should have let you explain before shutting you out completely. Mason shook his head. You had every reason to assume the worst. My father has done nothing but hurt you. I understand why you thought I was part of it. But you weren't. No, I swear I wasn't. She believed him. That was the terrifying part. She actually believed him. He explained everything anyway. Finding out about the forged signature, the confrontation at his father's estate, the immediate legal action, the testimony, the choice to burn that bridge permanently. You didn't have to do that, Kendra said quietly. You could have just stayed out of it. There was never a question. Mason's voice went fierce. You and the twins are my family. I'll always fight for you. They talked logistics after that safer territory. Custody arrangements, keeping Ben away from the twins permanently. How to explain grown-up conflicts in 5-year-old language. At the door, evening warm and cricket loud around them. Kendra stopped. I don't know if I'm ready to jump back in where we were. Mason nodded. I understand. But I don't want to lose what we were building either. Then we go slow. He smiled. Tentative and hopeful. Whatever pace you need, I'm not going anywhere. This time, she believed that too. 2 weeks had slipped by since the courthouse. 2 weeks of careful steps and tentative conversations, and Mason showing up exactly when he said he would. Saturday morning arrived bright and warm. Mason's car pulled into the driveway at 9, precisely 9, never late, and the twins tumbled out like puppies. Strawberry juice streaked Lucas's shirt. Lily had leaves in her hair. Mommy, we picked 1,000,000 strawberries. At least 100, Mason corrected, laughing, hauling 2 overflowing baskets from the trunk. Kendra had been watching from the window, waiting, missing them, missing him, if she was being honest. They spilled into the kitchen, all noise and excitement. Lucas described every strawberry he'd found. Lily demonstrated the proper picking technique Dad had taught her. Mason stood in the doorway, smiling at the chaos, relaxed in a way she'd never seen him before. "Can Dad stay for lunch? Please?" Lily turned, pleading eyes on her mother. Kendra glanced at Mason. He raised his hands. "No pressure. I know you have work." "Stay," she heard herself say. "We should use these strawberries before they go bad." They made strawberry shortcake together. Mason whipped cream while Kendra cut fruit. The twins helped by eating samples and getting flour absolutely everywhere. When Lucas accidentally dropped an egg on the floor, everyone burst out laughing instead of panicking. It felt like family, real family, not performance or desperation, just Saturday morning chaos in a small kitchen. Thursday evening, after the twins were asleep, they sat on the porch, their safe space for hard conversations. "I've been seeing a therapist," Mason said without preamble. "Every week since the hearing." Kendra looked over. He stared at his hands. "Working through the codependency stuff with my dad, fear of conflict, how I ran instead of fighting for what mattered." He met her eyes. "I don't want to be that person anymore, the one who disappears when things get difficult." She nodded slowly. "I've been talking to someone too, about trust, about how I shut people out before they can hurt me. Is it helping?" "Yeah, I think so." She paused. "She asked me if I could imagine forgiving you, really forgiving, not just co-parenting politely." Mason's breath caught. "What did you say?" "I said I didn't know yet, but I'm trying." They sat in silence. Crickets sang. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. "That's enough," Mason said quietly. "Trying is enough." Sunday dinner at Ruth's house felt different this time. Mason arrived with flowers for Ruth and a bottle of wine Jade had texted him about. Ruth actually hugged him at the door. "Come help me with this shelf," she commanded, pulling him toward the hallway. "It's crooked and I don't trust my level." Jade caught Kendra's eye and grinned. Progress. Dinner was loud and comfortable. Ruth asked Mason's opinion on contractors. Jade teased him mercilessly about his complete inability to cook anything that required more than 2 ingredients. The twins sat between Kendra and Mason, passing rolls and arguing about whether strawberries counted as vegetables. At one point, Lucas leaned against Mason's arm, casual and trusting. Lily rested her head on Kendra's shoulder. "A complete unit," Ruth raised her glass. "To family, the messy, complicated, worth fighting for kind." Everyone drank to that. The following Wednesday, Mason picked up the twins from school and brought them to the park. When he dropped them home, he lingered at the door while they ran inside. "Can I ask you something?" Kendra's heart sped up. "Okay. Would you want to try dating? Real dating, just us. Not co-parenting meetings or family dinners. Actual dates, where we remember we're also 2 people who used to make each other laugh." She studied him, saw nervousness and hope and determination. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Me too. What if we screw it up? Then we try again, or we figure out how to be amazing co-parents and nothing else." "But Kendra," his voice went rough, "I'd like to try, if you're willing." She thought about therapy, about Lucas calling him Dad without hesitation, about strawberry shortcake and front porch conversations, and the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's try." His smile could have lit the whole neighborhood. 6 months painted Kendra's world in colors she'd forgotten existed. Saturday morning arrived crisp and golden October, settling over Charlotte like a promise. The kindergarten's fall festival transformed the school courtyard into controlled chaos. Bounce houses, ring toss, tables groaning under baked goods. Kendra and Mason manned the face-painting booth, their station mobbed by children demanding butterflies and lightning bolts. "Hold still, sweetie," Kendra murmured, brush poised over a squirming boy's cheek. Mason worked beside her, tongue between his teeth in concentration, painting what was supposed to be Spider-Man, but looked more like a red blob with eyes. The child didn't care. She bounced away, thrilled. "You're terrible at this," Kendra said. "I'm providing realistic expectations for the next generation of artists." She laughed. Actually laughed. The sound came easy now. Other parents stopped by, greeting Mason by name, chatting about soccer practice and Halloween costumes. Mrs. Patterson from down the street asked if he'd help with the winter carnival planning committee. He agreed without checking with Kendra first, because this was his life now, his community. At 11, the kindergarten classes performed. Lily and Lucas stood in the front row, missing teeth and mismatched socks, belting out something about pumpkins with aggressive enthusiasm. Mason filmed on his phone. Kendra cried into Ruth's shoulder. "Every time," Ruth said, handing her a tissue. "Every single school event. They're just so big now." Jade appeared with lemonade and commentary. "Your face-painting booth is a disaster, by the way. Half those kids look diseased." Mason's work. "I heard that," he called, waving from across the courtyard. The twins found them after the performance, high on sugar and victory. "Park! We want the park." Lucas grabbed Mason's hand. Lily took Kendra's. 4 people moving as one unit through the festival crowd. Past friends and teachers who smiled at them like this had always been the configuration. Like Mason, had always been part of the picture. Freedom Park was 15 minutes away. The twins hit the playground at full speed, Lily claiming the highest swing, Lucas engineering something complicated with wood chips and imagination. Mason pushed them, patient and present, while Kendra collapsed onto a bench where Ruth and Jade waited. "He's really in it, isn't he?" Jade said, watching Mason catch Lucas at the bottom of the slide. "This isn't performance." Kendra followed her gaze. "He shows up. Every day. Even when Lucas had that stomach bug and threw up on his laptop. Even when Lily melted down about the wrong color cup at breakfast. Even when it's boring and repetitive and nothing like the fantasy version of fatherhood." Ruth's voice went soft. "You chose well, baby." Eventually, the words settled warm in Kendra's chest. That evening, the twins fought bedtime with their usual creativity. Mason read 3 books, negotiated water intake, and survived the debate about whether stuffed animals had feelings. When silence finally claimed the hallway, he found Kendra on the porch, their spot, where hard conversations happened. He sat beside her, close but not crowding, fidgeting with the porch railing. "What's wrong?" Kendra asked. "Nothing's wrong. I've been thinking about our future, all 4 of us." He drew breath, like a man preparing to jump. "I know we said slow. I don't want to rush you. But I need you to know where I'm headed, even if we're not there yet." Kendra's heart kicked. Mason turned, taking her hands. "I want to marry you, Kendra. Not now. I know you need more time, and that's okay. But I want you to know that's where I'm headed." His voice roughened. "I want us to be a real family, legally and every other way. I want to be here every morning when the kids wake up and every night when they go to sleep. I want to build a life with you that honors everything we've overcome to get here." Tears blurred her vision. "Mason, I'm not asking you to answer now. I'm just telling you what I want, what I'm working toward, so you know I'm in this completely." Kendra cupped his face, feeling stubble and warmth and steadiness. "Ask me in a year. If you still feel this way, if we're still solid, ask me properly." She smiled through tears. "And I think I'll say yes." His kiss tasted like hope and homecoming. Inside, the porch light clicked off Ruth's discretion. Then the door opened. Lily appeared, rumpled and sleepy. "Mommy? Dad? Why are you kissing?" They broke apart, laughing. Mason scooped her up. "Because I love your mommy very much." Lily considered this with 5-year-old gravity. "Okay, can I have water?" Perfect in its imperfection. Real life, real love, real family. 1 year later, spring returned to Charlotte with dogwoods in bloom and possibility in the air. Mason pulled into Freedom Park just after 10, his car full of people who'd become his entire world. Kendra sat in the passenger seat, eyeing him with playful suspicion. In the back, 6-and-a-half-year-old Lily and Lucas bounced with barely contained excitement, while Ruth and Jade exchanged knowing looks. "You're being weird," Kendra observed. "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Daddy's not weird, Mommy. He's just planning." Lily clapped a hand over her mouth. Lucas elbowed her. "You weren't supposed to say that part." Kendra laughed, warm and easy. 18 months had smoothed her sharp edges, taught her that trust could be rebuilt with patient hands. The oak tree where Mason first met the twins came into view their spot, he'd started calling it. Beneath its spreading branches, blankets formed a colorful patchwork. A portable speaker played soft jazz. Flowers spilled from mason jars arranged with surprising care. "Mason," Kendra's voice caught. "What is this?" "Just a picnic." He helped her out, fingers lacing through hers. "Thought we'd celebrate spring." They ate the twins' favorites, peanut butter sandwiches cut into dinosaurs, strawberries, chocolate chip cookies still warm from Ruth's kitchen. Lily chattered about her first-grade science project. Lucas showed off a gap where his tooth had fallen out that morning. Normal, Beautiful. Theirs. After lunch, Mason stood and brushed grass from his jeans. Who wants to walk to the playground? Me. The twins raced ahead. Kendra took his offered hand, but her steps slowed as they approached. Between the trees, photos hung on ribbons like prayer flags, moments captured and strung together into proof. Mason and the twins at this very park. Uncertainty and hope written on all three faces. Family dinners crowded around Kendra's small table. The courthouse steps, relief and exhaustion after their victory. The art gallery on their first real date. Kendra's smile tentative but genuine. Christmas morning chaos. Tuesday nights doing homework. A wedding that never happened, transformed into a family that did. Her hand flew to her mouth. At the center of the display, Mason waited with Lily on his left, Lucas on his right. Both children vibrated with excitement. Behind them, Ruth dabbed at her eyes while Jade grinned like she'd won a bet. Kendra, Mason's voice carried across the space between them. She walked forward on legs that felt uncertain, heart too large for her chest. He dropped to one knee. The twins giggled, swaying against him. I told you a year ago where I was headed. I've spent every day since, trying to be worthy of you and these incredible children. His voice roughened. You've given me grace I didn't deserve and chances I didn't earn. You made me a better man and a real father. I love you more than I thought possible to love anything. Lily thrust a small velvet box at him, beaming. Will you marry me? Mason opened the box, a simple band with a single stone, elegant and understated. Exactly her. Will you let me spend the rest of my life showing up for you? Tears spilled hot and fast. Yes, God, yes. The ring slid onto her finger like it had always belonged there. The twins shrieked and launched themselves into the space between their parents, a tangle of arms and laughter. Ruth and Jade rushed in, and they stood wrapped together, this family, built not from biology alone, but from forgiveness and courage and choosing each other daily. That evening, Kendra's house overflowed with celebration. Pizza boxes covered the kitchen counter. Jade popped champagne while Ruth cut cake. The twins zoomed through rooms on a sugar high, showing anyone who'd listened the photos from the proposal. Over dessert, Lucas studied his parents seriously. So Dad's going to live with us for real now? Mason looked to Kendra. She nodded, radiant. Yes, buddy, for real and forever. Lily wrinkled her nose. Good. We need someone tall to reach the high shelves. Laughter rang through the small house, joy soaking into walls that had known too much loneliness. Later, after everyone left and the twins finally crashed, Kendra and Mason sat on the porch in their spot. She turned her hand, watching her ring catch streetlight. We did it. We actually made it through. Mason kissed her temple, breathing her in. We did, and we'll make it through whatever comes next, too. Together, she finished, always. Above them, stars emerged one by one, bearing witness. 8 months later, November painted Charlotte in shades of amber and gold. Kendra stood in the small teacher's lounge that served as a makeshift bridal suite, staring at her reflection. The ivory dress was simple, no beading, no train, just clean lines that made her feel like herself. Outside, children's artwork transformed the school's art room into something magical. Jade fastened the last button. Nervous? No. Kendra's voice carried quiet certainty. I've never been more sure of anything. Ruth adjusted the small flower crown in Kendra's hair, her eyes wet. You look beautiful, baby. From the hallway came Lily's stage whisper. Lucas, you can't eat the rings. I wasn't eating them. I was just looking. Kendra laughed, the sound loose and free. This was right. All of it. 40 guests filled the art room, colleagues, Ruth's church friends, neighbors who'd watched this family rebuild itself. Mason stood at the front, near windows covered with student paintings of hope and new beginnings. His simple grey suit fit him well, but it was his expression that made Ruth reach for tissues. The man looked like someone who'd found his way home. Music started. Lily burst through the doorway, scattering rose petals with theatrical enthusiasm, while Lucas followed, carrying the ring pillow like it contained nuclear codes. The guests laughed softly. Then Kendra appeared. She walked alone, no one giving her away because she'd always belonged to herself. But her eyes locked on Mason and the twins waiting at the altar, and her heart swelled with the knowledge that belonging to yourself and choosing to belong with others weren't contradictions. They were the whole point. Mason's tears started before she reached him. He didn't bother hiding them. Hi, she whispered when she took his hands. Hi yourself. His voice cracked. You're stunning. The officiant smiled. We're gathered today to witness something rare, a love that refused to quit, even when quitting would have been easier. The vows came from honest places. Mason spoke first, voice steady despite the emotion. I promise to show up, every single day, in the big moments and the small ones. When Lily has a nightmare, when Lucas needs help with homework, when you're tired of carrying everything alone. I promise to be the partner and father our family deserves, not because it's easy, but because you're worth the work. I promise to choose you, always. Kendra's turn. She looked at this man who'd learned courage the hard way. I promise to trust you, even when old fears whisper lies. I promise to build this life with you as equals, not me protecting myself, not you trying to fix everything, but both of us building something together. I promise to love you not in spite of our history, but because of everything we've overcome to stand here. Her eyes moved to include the twins. All four of us. Rings exchanged. Simple gold bands. I now pronounce you married. Mason, kiss your bride already. The kiss tasted like salt and joy and permanence. Lily shouted, "Finally!" And the room erupted in laughter and applause. The gymnasium had been transformed with string lights and student-made decorations. During the first dance, Lily and Lucas couldn't stand watching from the sidelines. "We want to dance too." Lily tugged at Kendra's dress. So it became what it should have been all along, a family dance, all four of them swaying, while everyone watched with soft eyes. Later, when speeches ended and cake was served, Mason and Kendra slipped outside to the school's small patio. November air bit sharp and clean. "We did it." Kendra leaned into his warmth. "We really did." Mason wrapped his arms around her from behind. "I was so lost before I found you again. Before I found them, you saved me." She turned in his embrace. "We saved each other, and we built something stronger than either of us could have alone." The kiss was slow. Married now, partners and parents. "Mom, Dad," Lucas's voice carried from inside, "they're cutting the cake without you." Their laughter tangled together as they headed back. The photographer captured the moment perfectly. Mason and Kendra at the cake table with frosting-covered twins between them, surrounded by Ruth and Jade and people who'd carried them through darkness. A family that broke and chose to heal. A family built on the radical act of trying again. A family that refused to quit on love.